the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the top layer cross, just like we would a normal 3x3. Now the only thing that you need to make sure that you know how to do at this point is you need to know a 2-look last layer or a 4-look last layer. So 2-look or 4-look. If you don't know either of those, basically meaning that you only know how to solve using the beginner's 3x3 layer by layer method, then you're not going to be able to solve this puzzle. You're going to run into some kind of parity or some kind of situation where the pieces just don't align correctly. The easiest way to make sure that you don't do this is to learn 2-look or 4-look on the last layer. If you don't know that, I have a basic introduction to 4-look on my page. It's called How to Solve a Rubik's Cube in Under 1 Minute. It has a lot of information, but if you look at the back half of the videos, I believe it starts on part 3 or part 4, one of those, maybe even part 5, I'm not sure. But that's the part that covers the last layer. That's the important part. So it doesn't teach you 100% 4-look, but it gives you an introduction to it, and if you use that method, you will be able to solve this puzzle. So if you don't understand what I'm saying from here on out, as far as it relates to the last layer, check out that video, How to Solve a Rubik's Cube in Under a Minute. It's on my channel. It'll help you solve this puzzle, and you can use that method to solve this puzzle. It will work. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the cross on the top layer. Now this part is a little tricky, but it's not really that bad. All we need to do is, again, look on the side. So we use kind of white as the first layer, you know, kind of base color, I guess you could say. Normally the base color is the bottom color, but in this situation, the white was always pointing downward, right? So all we have to do is look at the color on top, which is blue. The blue in this case is always pointing upward. So we just need to make sure that there's no blue on this top. So we're going to look at the pieces, the edges right now, and we're going to see how many of them have blue. Well, these two both have blue and these two don't. So that means that these two are actually properly oriented, which in this case gives us the L, like that. So all we have to do is do the algorithm for the L, and that will put all of the blue pieces on the side, as you may see. And it's pretty simple. Now, you'll notice that there's no blue on the top, and we do have the cross. Here's the red, there's the green, there's the orange, and there's the yellow. Now that we have our cross on top, you want to look at your center, and you may notice that it will be unoriented. It may be oriented, it may not be oriented. More than likely, it will not be oriented. If it's not, don't worry about it. Orienting the last center is actually the last step of the entire puzzle. Even though all the other centers have to be oriented from the very beginning, the last center is actually the last one that gets oriented out of all the other pieces, including the edges and the corners. So if that's oriented, great. If it's not, don't worry about it, but don't pay attention to it. You need to focus on the edges, because if you're going to align the corners, you can't do it to the center until the center is oriented. So focus on the edges from at this point. So all we have to do at this point is do the same thing that we've been doing all along. We need to try to make sure we have all of the blue corners on the side. Now, I already have all blue on the side, but let's say I didn't. Let's say I had a situation like this. Well, that's obvious. I know that I have one piece that is correctly oriented, which is this piece right here. Okay, this is basically soon or anti-soon, because I have blue, blue, blue. If it's soon, that means there should not be a blue here, but there is a blue here. As you can see, this is the soon case. And because of the fact that there's not blue here, this is actually anti-soon. So if you have a confusion about how to orient the corners, just make sure that there's no blue on the top. When all the top pieces are oriented, that means that there's not a blue edge and there's not a blue corner on the top layer. And once you have all of those oriented correctly, then your top layer should be oriented properly. So at this point, all we have to do is go ahead and complete the 4-look. So we've already done the orienting. Let's go into the permuting. We're going to start with the corners. All we have to do is look for 2 corners that are already kind of in the right position, which means that they won't be identical. So you see these 2 are identical, these 2 are identical, these 2 are identical. So obviously none of these work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in that situation. So we're just going to do a basic corner cycle. It doesn't matter how you hold the cube, just make sure that the top layer is still on the top. We're going to do a basic corner cycle. And now you'll notice that the pieces are kind of mixed up a little bit. These 2 are different, but they're not correctly oriented. These 2 are still the same, so they won't work. These 2 obviously don't work either. But the 2 that do work are these 2. As you can see, the red and the orange match up nicely, and that means that that's the pair. So we're going to put those in the back, and we're going to switch these front 2 using a basic corner switcher, just like that. And now you'll notice with a simple rotate, all of these pieces should be oriented properly. Now, at this point, all we have to do is orient the edges. So now that the corners are all properly oriented, it's pretty simple to orient the edges. You're going to do one of 4 algorithms. You're going to do a basic edge cycle clockwise, a basic edge cycle counterclockwise, the Z-Perm, or the H-Perm. I'm going to go over all of those right now. The first one is the counterclockwise edge cycle. This yellow has to come here, this red has to come here, and this orange has to come over here. It's counterclockwise, and you're cycling these 3 edges. I'll post the algorithm below or in the side, depending on where you're viewing the video. Here's the basic counterclockwise edge cycle. So as you notice, the orange is now matched up, the yellow is matched up, and the red is matched up. Now don't get confused. Now you'll notice that the center, you might think, oh, the red's supposed to be right here, and this is supposed to be green. But again, the center's not correct, so don't let the center throw you off. So that was the counterclockwise edge cycle. This is another algorithm. This is the clockwise edge cycle. This yellow has to come down here, this orange has to move over here, and this red has to jump across. It's clockwise. Here's the clockwise edge cycle. And again, I'll post all these algorithms below or in the sidebar, depending on where you're viewing it. And again, don't pay attention to the center. Focus on the corners, and you'll notice that all these are now matched up. The next one is the H-Perm. You'll notice that this green has to come across here, this yellow has to come across here, and the red and the orange also have to switch. So it kind of makes a plus. Here's the H-Perm. And you'll notice now we have red, green, orange, and yellow. All of them are correct. The last one is the Z-Perm. This is the only kind of tricky one. You'll notice that this red and yellow need to be switched like that. The orange and green need to be switched like that. So think of these as pairs. Put one of the pairs in the front face and the right face, and put the other pair in the left face and the back face, and do the following algorithm. And again, we have red, green, orange, and yellow. Not paying attention to the center.